There may be some of you who recall playing Tetris as a child. I always think longingly back to my Tetris playing days. Basically, Tetris is a game of shapes, specifically creating lines with different building blocks. Oh, the feeling you get when you get the 4 shapes all at once, called a Tetris. A tetrachord is a similar type of structure in which we build in notes of 4 with half steps and whole steps. A major tetrachord is whole step, half step. When we have a tetrachord, whole step between C and D, D to E, whole step, and then a half step between 3 and 4, E to F, that creates a tetrachord. The upper tetrachord, whole step between G and A, whole step between A and B, and a half step between B and C. Those both create what we call in music tetrachords. Whole step, half step. When you have 2 tetrachords connected by a whole step in the middle, that creates the notes for the major scale. Any 4-note segment of a scale or tone row, and when we are talking about the major tetrachord, we are talking about the whole step, half step relationship. Now, once we have our major scale, or any scale for that matter, each scale degree has a specific name. Often, we will refer to it as scale degree 1, scale degree 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. Now, when we are sight singing, we will represent each of those numbers with a syllable called solfege. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So instead of using numbers, we will just replace it with a syllable. And we'll discuss in class why we use those different systems. When we build chords on each of these pitches, we use Roman numerals to represent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 1 again as we get back to C. But the most exciting thing about this is that each scale degree has its own name and its own function within the scale. A tonic note, we've already talked about, is 1 or 8. But all the other notes have their own names and their own functions. Supertonic. Super is from the Latin word super, which means above. So scale degree 2 we call above tonic or supertonic. The mediant note, that comes from another Latin word, mediare, which means in the middle. So when we have our tonic triad, tonic note, mediant note, dominant note, the mediant is right in the center. Dominant is 5. It's the second most important note other than tonic, which is why we call it the dominant. And then the 4 is the subdominant. Well, you're saying, why is this 6 called the submediant when it's not below the mediant? Sub meaning below, mediant. Well, it's because the 6th scale degree wants to lead us to the 3rd scale degree. So we have C, submediant, which wants to lead us to mediant, to the subdominant, leading to the dominant, and back to tonic. So the function of each of the notes of the scale will help us to determine the proper structure of our melodies. Please take a moment to write down each of these scale degree functions and their names on your paper. So the first scale degree to review is tonic, as we've already discussed. Scale degree 2 we call supertonic. The 3rd scale degree is mediant. 4th is subdominant, which is below the dominant, which is scale degree 5. Submediant 6. The 7th note of the scale is the leading tone, and this is perhaps another one of the other very important notes, because when we are using chords, the leading tone will lead us back to home. There's a leading tone that wants to go back to here.